Hello and welcome to a quick World of Tanks update preview video. Today there's not actually going to be any gameplay because I'm supposed to be doing a bit more revision tonight, and at the same time I do have some other content to put up anyway, but this is just to kind of show you what's happened in 8.5. As you probably heard, there's been a whole new line, well not a whole new line, but basically the German light tank line has been extended, and I was pretty impressed because some of it I didn't quite get because there was like a few gaps missing, but I'm very impressed with this update because what's basically just happened is I've simply just gone to my research and I've actually just researched VK28.01, and essentially what was quite interesting about that is before the update to get that it was about 51k XP and I was about 10ish, I think 15k off getting that, and I just logged in today and saw it's like 23k, so I thought I already have that, so I went ahead and researched it. Of course I don't have anywhere near enough money, but I'm not really sure what to do next because I'm kind of thinking I probably could sell the Leopard and get some money back on that, but it's probably not worth doing so. But again, that's obviously something I can work towards getting. And I mean, the only unfortunate thing is that this other light tank, the VK28.01, it's okay, it's not great. That's one of the problems with it, because you've obviously got the radio, which from the looks of it, looks like I have to research again. I'm not sure if that's the case because that's the FUG 12 and that's the FUG Spur. So it looks like we obviously do have to research the radio again. That's a bit unfortunate, but we can probably work around that because it's only 7,200 XP, and actually looking at it, that's, you already get that anyway, and from the looks of it you only actually get 10 more meters of signal range, so I'm sure there's probably something a bit more behind it than that, but obviously there's not much of a difference, so that's probably something possibly not worth upgrading. But you can see this thing here, this is quite interesting, 10.5. Only problem with this is that you would only actually use this if you have premium rounds. Without that, again, it's just going to be something pretty useless, inaccurate, aiming time's okay, but all in all it's going to be pretty useless unless you're using gold ammo. However, you do have 7.5 centimeter from the looks of it, and yeah, again, these are pretty much stats that you would expect to see on a tier 5 gun. Pretty awful. Again, probably as you get into roughly the same tier, you're going to be able to do a bit of damage, but you can't really bet on it. You're not going to be able to do much really at all if you're going to, because obviously you're a scout, you're going to go up into like tier 7, 8, 9, possibly 10 games, so it kind of makes that obsolete already. But this is kind of the interesting one, which I wish I could have done a game on, but for some reason never got to get onto the contest, so partly due because there was a massive patch, and again it was always busy. But this one's interesting because, as you can see, I wish I could actually show it in more detail, but it's a pretty controversial tank, if you put it that way. It's pretty much got the same speed as all the others, but as you can tell, it pretty much looks like a barge. If you want to kind of know what the details behind this are, it's effectively a Panther chassis with a Leopard turret on it. But it's not a Leopard turret because, oh no wait, sorry, it is a Leopard turret to start with, but you upgrade it. And pretty much, yeah, it looks awful. If you put it that way, it's not great because it's massive. It's the size of a medium tank. Obviously it's a Panther chassis, so it's got pretty rubbish camo value if you're going to be doing passive scouting. That's not going to happen. And on the move, again, it's probably okay on the move, but because it's so big, it's not going to take much to hit you. And just look at this first of all. You've got the first gun you start with is the 5 centimeter, and that is the first gun you get on the Lux and Leopard. I think it's a tier 3 gun that's pretty awful. And obviously you get the Leopard transferred over, but then just look at this. You've got to research that, so that's like 5.3k XP with a 5 centimeter gun, and what you start with, that's going to take a long time to get. And then get on to the 7.5, which I have a feeling you may have already researched from the VK2801, but I'm not sure. And then you've got this, which is, I mean, this is nice. It's got 157 penetration. Again, that's not really tier 8 standard, I don't think. Not quite. I mean, it's slightly lacking there. The damage obviously isn't great, but I mean, you can see the aiming time's great, the accuracy's pretty good, rate of fire is also pretty good. So I mean that's all in all a pretty decent gun for a tier 7 tank, light tank even. And obviously you've got the tier 5 10.5cm, which also gets transferred over as well. But moving on to the engines, we can see that you get up to a 900 horsepower engine. Obviously still gasoline, so 20% chance of fire, so you're going to catch fire occasionally, hopefully not too often, but it's so big you're going to get shot quite a bit. So again, it needs a lot of horsepower to get this thing moving. And then this is what like really attracts me to this, because I've kind of always thought, when I went along the German light tank line when I like first started playing this, I kind of thought, oh, these look good. And then when Alpha finally pointed out to me, well actually I was following a dead end, I was a bit like, oh, that's not too good. But I mean, it's obviously paid off, because you've got the Leopard now, the VK2801, and you go to the Panther Scout, to just call it that because I cannot pronounce that at all, that German there. And then you can go straight up to the Indian Panzer. But the only problem with this is that you have to pay more. You'll probably notice that because you're taking a shortcut effectively, because the way you're supposed to do it is you get that one, and then you get that one, and they basically kind of penalise you a bit for taking a bit of a shortcut, possibly, if you look at it in that way. So you do have to get about 20k more XP, so that's going to take a while, especially in that thing, which is another problem, because how long is it going to take to get 100k XP to get that in that thing? I mean, we'll have to see, because probably fully upgraded, if you learn how to play a tank, it's fine. In my opinion, people say tanks are bad, but it's the driver who's bad most of the time. That's just my opinion, but obviously there are bad tanks. And yep, you get the Indian Panzer, which is the lovely medium tank. Armour's not great for its tier, really. But it's fast. It's pretty fast, 50 kilometers an hour. That's pretty good for a medium tank of this tier. And the rate of fire is decent. It's not great, but the damage is okay, and the penetration, I suppose, is okay. So you get all of this. You can get up to a 9cm, which is a nice gun for what you can research. Tier 8 gun, which, yeah, 240 damage. That's pretty decent. It's not obviously as much as like Soviet heavies could do. Penetration, again, that's probably going to go through most things pretty easily. Maybe not tier 9s and tier 10s. Then you get the Leopard PGA, which is another medium, and this is an excellent turret. As you can see, it's very nicely curved and balanced, so you're going to bounce quite a lot of that. The turret, though, however, isn't that strongly armoured. I mean, okay, you're going to get the occasional bounce, but for a tier 9, pretty much anything that hits you on this will probably go through. I mean, just look at that, 70mm front, 45 sides, 25 rear. Any shell that goes through is going to do maximum damage, so you're going to have to work out how to move. But if you notice, speed limit 65. If you play the Hellcat, you'll know how to play this thing. I think they even kind of marketed it at that Wargaming, is that if you like the Hellcat, you'll like the new German mediums, which is true. So I haven't actually looked at this thing here, but they obviously just upgrade a couple of bits. And you've got the tier 10 gun, 105mm. It's not a howitzer, as you can see. Of course, at this level, you wouldn't expect it to be. Royal Ordnance kind of sounds like a British gun. I think Alpha was talking to me about British guns on German tanks. I may be mistaken, may have forgotten, but I'm sure it was something to do with this, and this just looks great. Rate of fire is not great, but it's bearable. Penetration, again, if you're in tier 9 games, you're going to be able to penetrate tier 10s with ease. Pretty much. I mean, okay, you're going to get bounces off, like the bounce and such, possibly. Damage is pretty nice, and then we move on to the Leopard one. This is kind of the king of the German mediums. So what we've got here is a medium, same speed limit, 65 kilometers an hour, and the same kind of stats with armor. Pretty shocking armor, really, but this was actually based off the fact that pure steel became obsolete before composite armor, because at this point, when people realized that new kind of ammunition had been discovered or invented that could pretty much go through like 200mm of steel without a problem, it was kind of thought, well, is there any point making a 200mm thick armoured tank that's just going to get ripped apart, that can only go 20 or 30 kilometers an hour, because it's just going to be sitting there being shot at. It's not going to bounce anything or whatever. So what they obviously did was sacrificed armour for speed. But again, if I was a commander of this tank in real life, I wouldn't like that concept of being completely undefended and defences. But again, in terms of World of Tanks, this thing looks like it's going to be good, because just the damage, penetration, great penetration, not going to struggle with penetration there. Hit points are pretty decent, but again, if you do get hit, it's going to have a big effect on you. But artillery, as long as you're on the move, probably not going to like worry about that. Of course, if you did get hit by an artillery, it's going to completely rip this thing apart. But apart from that, because it's so fast, you shouldn't really get hit by artillery, provided you know how to play it properly. But there you go. I said it was going to be a short video, but obviously turned out to be a bit longer than expected. However, I hope you did enjoy it, even though I didn't get any gameplay in. But hopefully once I do get the VK2801, I will do a bit of stuff on that and just say what it is, how good I think it is. I usually do a review of each new tank again, and obviously occasionally I just play a random game in any battle. But anyway, thanks for watching guys, hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, remember to like and subscribe. See you next time.